Hello everyone, welcome back to our IELTS Grammar Masterclass course. If you've been with us for a few lessons so far, then you will know that we are focusing on different aspects of grammar and we have an IELTS twist in there, so we will make sure that you feel comfortable not only with the grammar but how you can apply this grammar if you are practicing and preparing for your IELTS exam. So today we have a topic focused around prepositions and prepositional phrases, and this is going to focus on the writing section of the IELTS exam. So if that's something that you are looking to feel more confident in, get a bit more information about, then today is the lesson for you. Okay, let's start today by thinking about prepositions. What are they used for? Well, prepositions are words that show the relationship between a noun, or indeed a pronoun, because we know that pronouns can replace nouns, so they act in the same way, and other elements in a sentence. So prepositions are all about location, direction, time, and various other relationships between the different elements. So a lot of the time they are quite small words, but they're small and mighty because they play a big role in the sentence. Without them, you wouldn't understand the intricacies and the details of the sentence. So they really help to add complexity, interest, and layers to the sentence. So let's now look at the various different prepositions. These are very common that you might get, and we'll go through some examples. So the first one today is in. In shows the location within a space. So a general example could be the cat is in the box. And you can imagine a box and the cat being inside, if you like, in. Now let's think about some more IELTS focused examples. So in your writing, maybe this is a task 1, you could say in the chart, so within the chart, in other words, we can observe a significant increase in sales. So you can see how we're really focusing in on certain elements. So in the chart, okay, well we know that that's within the chart now. And sales is having an increase there. In recent years, technological advancements have transformed various industries. So again, we've got the relationship there. If we were to take away in and just say recent years, you would mostly understand. I don't think it would be too difficult to understand, but there's no clarity, there's no conciseness with it. It's quite vague. So prepositions add that accuracy there. Okay, next one, on. This indicates a position on top of a surface, if you like. So, for example, the book is on the table and it's on the surface of it. More IELTS focused, we've got on the graph, the data points represent quarterly revenue. So the data points on the graph, on the surface of the graph that's already there, perhaps. On the whole, the study indicates a positive correlation between education and income. That's a great phrase, on the whole. That means altogether, in summary, on the whole. Another one, at. That is talking about a specific time or place. We will meet at the park. At the beginning of the period, there was a slight decline in production. So we're focusing in on the beginning of the time period here. At present, Many countries are adapting sustainable practices to combat climate change. So this is related to time. You get this sense of really being able to be accurate with the timing with at. By. This is talking about the way or the method of doing something. So you could say she solved the problem by herself, which means on her own, with no help. Okay, more IELTS focused. By 2030, it is expected that renewable energy will account for a larger share of the market. Now, this is interesting. It's a little bit different. So there's a method of doing something or proximity. So in this example, it's talking about, well, by the time it is 2030, however long that is away. Another one, by analysing the data, we can identify key trends in consumer behaviour. Okay, with now. With shows association or accompaniment. I went to the party with my friends. So the subject here wasn't alone, they had their friends with them. An IELTS example now, the table provides information on student enrolment with a focus on international students. So it's like when something comes with something else. The government is working with environmental organisations to address conservation issues. So collaboration here. Under indicates a position either beneath or below something else. For example, the keys are under the mat. So in other words, the mat is covering the keys. No citizen falls under the poverty line. An inclusive society is imperative. This showcases the positive impact of the environmental regulations implemented under the new legislation. For. This expresses purpose, aim, or reason for an action. It can also indicate duration, recipient, or advantage. So it's quite flexible, this one. You might see it in various different roles. You can say, I bought a gift for my sister's birthday. So that shows the recipient. Who's the gift for? Well, my sister, and my sister's birthday in this case. For the majority of respondents, cost was the primary consideration. For instance, the introduction of new policies has led to a reduction in pollution levels. Okay, so different examples there. That's a good phrase, for instance. It's another way of saying for example. You can use that in your writing. Okay, so those were the main prepositions that you might come across in your day-to-day English practice. So now let's step things up and think about prepositional phrases. So just like verb phrases, noun phrases, what are prepositional phrases? You might have an idea. Well, it's a group of words that begins with a preposition, but it can include a noun or, in fact, a pronoun, and that is the object of the preposition. So a prepositional phrase is more than just one preposition. It has other elements that provide additional information about the relationship between all of the different parts of the sentence. So just like how verb phrases includes other elements, noun phrases have other elements, so do prepositions, and we can call them prepositional phrases. Okay, so how are they formed then? Well, we start with our preposition, then we have the object, of the preposition. What is the preposition focusing on, in other words? And if there's any modifiers, we can put them in there as well. So of course, we will have a look at some examples that you can then use in your IELTS preparation. Okay, so in the garden, the preposition is in, the object is the garden. On the table, preposition is on, the table is the object, the focus. After the movie, preposition is after, object, the movie. You can of course add modifiers if you wanted to perhaps describe this noun a little bit more. You could talk about what does the garden look like, add some adjectives in there. Make it a bit longer if you wanted to. For example, the movie, after the brilliant movie, on the sturdy table, in the beautiful garden. Okay, so a few that it's good to be aware of. We'll go through some examples now, just like we did with prepositions. In terms of. So this is talking about a particular aspect regarding or concerning a particular element, if you like. So a general example, in terms of fashion, the 1980s were characterized by oversized clothing. So we're focusing on fashion, that's the aspect within the 1980s. You could say, in terms of demographics, the elderly population has seen a steady increase. The data is categorized in terms of age groups and educational levels. Another phrase which is really useful, on the basis of, and this is using a particular fact or situation as a reason or support. A general one, the scholarship was awarded on the basis of academic achievement. So how did they figure out who the scholarship was for? Well, they used the academic side to help on the basis of. That was the reasoning. On the basis of the findings, it can be concluded that there is a strong correlation. Okay, maybe that's a task 1 situation. You could write something like this. Another one, decisions were made on the basis of careful analysis of market trends. At the expense of. This is quite negative. This is the detriment or the cost of something else. So something is lost to make way for another thing, if that makes sense. So I am ordering a takeaway at the expense of my wallet. So this is a example meaning that at the expense of my money, my wallet, in other words, I am having this takeaway. More IELTS now. At the expense of environmental sustainability, there has been a rapid industrial growth. So what has suffered? The environment, sustainability. What has grown? Industry. Economic development should not come at the expense of ecological balance. Okay, so hopefully this is clear how to use this phrase. By means of. This means with the help of, or through the use of as well. The message was conveyed by means of a carefully crafted advertising campaign. The company achieved efficiency by means of streamlined production processes. So how did they achieve efficiency? By means of streamlined production. So you're seeing how something is happening. By means of advanced technology, communication has become more accessible. Okay, there we go. So now we've got for the purpose of, with the intention or objective of. For the purpose of the audience, the movie was PG. So with the idea of the audience in mind, this affected the rating of the movie. IELTS now, the study was conducted for the purpose of identifying key factors influencing consumer behaviour. In other words, why are these things happening? For the purpose of. New regulations were introduced for the purpose of reducing carbon emissions. So you can really add to your writing and add depth to it by using these prepositional phrases. You can talk about how, why, using these brilliant phrases here. Another one, with regard to. In relation to, in other words. With regard to the price, this reflects the quality. So when we're talking about the price, this is reflected in the quality. So perhaps a more expensive item is better quality. With regard to employment, the service sector has experienced significant growth. Policies have been implemented with regard to improving healthcare infrastructure. Okay, so concerning something in relation to. Right, well that was a thorough look at prepositions and prepositional phrases. Hopefully you can see that using both of these grammatical tools, you can really add deeper layers of relationships to your writing and speaking, of course. We're focusing on writing today, but absolutely this is good for speaking as well. So relationships are key here. You can think of all the words and all the different things that you want to say as like different family and friends. And prepositions really tell the speaker and let people know the relationship between all those different words, or if you like, people, and it really becomes clear in our minds as to what's going on between all the different elements. So now, with that being said, that's a good prepositional phrase. We can look at some examples and some questions now, and you can have a go at home and see if you can think about what the right preposition or prepositional phrase might be. Okay, so we have a question number 1, and we have a blank. So it's up to us to think about the blank here. The new policy aims to address issues, environmental sustainability, and we're not completely on our own. We've got some options. So A, on, could be on. B, with. C, in. D, for. Okay, so think about the different relationships. The new policy aims to address issues. What would work best here? Is it concerning or regarding? Is it in collaboration? Is it maybe about a certain topic? Have a think. Let's see if you're correct. The answer was within this topic of environmental sustainability. Now, it's not completely set in stone. I would say that it would be also fine to say the new policy aims to address issues on environmental sustainability, but in here, the new policy aims to address issues in environmental sustainability works nicely, I think. Okay, so that was the first question. What about question number 2? The success of the project was achieved. Oh, we've got a prepositional phrase now. At the expense of quality, by means of collaborative efforts, with regard to customer complaints, for the purpose of financial gain. So we're answering the question, how was the project achieved here? That's what we want to know. And so maybe that can help us with thinking about what would work best here. So we know that maybe one of these phrases talks about how something was done. One of them could also work talking about the detriment of something. I'll leave you to think about what might be best here. Let's have a look together. So I think this is quite nice. The success of the project was achieved by means of collaborative efforts. That's talking about how it was achieved. However, the first option, at the expense of, could have also worked if it was perhaps a negative outcome. That grammatically that would have been fine, but I think for the context here, this one works a bit nicer. But good to know that depending on the context, you can use a variety of different prepositional phrases. Okay, well done if you got that right. Another question. Oh, we've got 2 blanks now. Wow. The report provides insights. The impact of climate change. Local economies. So is it on and then in? Is it at and on? For or with? Into, at. Oh, this is a bit tricky. We've got 2 different situations to think about here. So the report provides insights. And then the impact of climate change. Have a think. If you're sure about one of the answers, then that might give you a clue as to which the other might be. Okay, let's see if you have any ideas for this one. Okay, so this one was on and then in. The report provides insights on the impact of climate change in local economies. Within local economies, in other words. Okay, and I think we've got one last one here. The company decided to expand its services. Is it A, on the basis of market demand? In terms of reducing operational costs? With respect to innovative technologies? Or at the expense of customer satisfaction? So why did the company decide to expand services? I think that's what we're trying to go for here. Any ideas? Have a little think. Okay, let's double check this one. On the basis of market demand, we've got for this one, on the basis of why something happened, in other words. Of course, you could use the at the expense example again. That would grammatically work. But I think contextually, again, we're reading between the lines here and thinking that, okay, maybe this is the best fit for this one. Okay, well done if you got some of those answers right. That's brilliant practice there. And thank you so much for coming along. So hopefully you can see the importance of these words and phrases, these prepositions. They're really, really useful to add layers and add information to your writing. So I hope that's been a useful practice, and yes, great to have you with us. See you in the next one.